President Musk told them. President Musk said, don't do it.
Who's the boss? Is it the great and powerful Oz, Elon Musk?
Like it using his new political power, Elon Musk.
Because Elon Musk and Donald Trump, who swear they have a mandate.
The richest man in the world took $190 million away from kids with cancer.
Donald Trump and Elon Musk lost.
The mainstream media are having to resort to some very dirty tactics right now to try to cover up what just happened with Elon Musk, with MAGA, with the American people, and with Congress, because they are terrified. If you don't know the context of this, I covered this in my last video. So now I'm going to explain to you what happened after that first bill got rejected, and we're going to be looking at the media responses and the responses from the Democrats. Basically, once that bill got rejected, the Democrats and the mainstream media started to come out and just be like, evil Elon, which I guess was predictable, but they are looking to absolutely annihilate his character now. They used a few tactics. The first tactic they went for was trying to get at Trump's ego and trying to create a divide between Musk and Trump. Have a look.
Musk decided to change the deal. Do I call him President Musk?
Who's the boss? Is it the great and powerful Oz, Elon Musk, who this week has brought us to the brink of yet another government shutdown by doing something that Trump used to do, namely going on Twitter, which he owns, and demanding that House Republicans refuse to pass a spending bill, causing them to yap and clap like trained seals and shout, okay, boss, okay.
We have an outside influence who believes, I think he is president, and that's President Musk, who has not elected, has no authority, and trying to really upend what the services are to the American people.
Now let us be very clear. Elon Musk was not elected to be president of the United States. In fact, he was not elected to be dog catcher.
It's shameful that they allowed Elon Musk, who now everybody's calling President Musk, to blow this deal up.
This actually really did bother me to see the way that they were coming out and just leaving out such important details. They are there trying to inform people about what's going on, and they're just leaving out these huge chunks of information that the public deserves to know. And it just bothers me that they're not being given the full story.
We have broken the Christmas omni. And I have no intention of going back to that terrible tradition. So there won't be a Christmas omnibus. As somebody asked me in the hallway a little while ago, will there be many buses? We don't want any buses. We're not going to do any buses, okay?
And I've seen this play call like 4 times in the 7 years I've been in Congress. They've punted the ball until December 20th. And what they'll do is they'll come in a closed room with us and they'll say, okay, now we've got the really big omnibus. And if you vote for this, you can go home for Christmas. But if you don't vote for it and it fails, we're going to make you stay here over Christmas and New Year's. And it's almost like a dystopian future. I've been in the closed room where they start chanting, vote, 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 vote. Yeah. And people run up there and vote for something they've not read.
But their only concern here was just to lash out at Elon Musk. And they don't seem concerned with the principles, with the actual corruption. I guess they just wanted to be able to vote on a bill that no one had read. And they're lashing out. And before we get into this, I think it's important for context that people understand how much debt America is in. So this chart shows the US debt over the last 200 years. And as you can see, it was non-existent for a significant amount of time. And then it just goes up exponentially. This person says, it took over 200 years for US debt to reach $12 trillion. 12 trillion is how much we added in 4 years between 2020 and 2024. So Bernie Sanders also came out very quickly and started trying to get at Trump through the whole President Musk joke. And you saw in the comments, people just openly saying like, this is how we're going to get them. We need to divide them. But as this progressed, I guess they decided that there needed to be another tactic. So then the childhood cancer research tactic began.
They cut nearly $200 million in funding for, ready for this, childhood cancer research called the Gabriella Miller Kids First Pediatric Research Program. That's what they cut. That program was established on a bipartisan basis under President Obama. Former Republican leader Eric Cantor was one of the driving forces behind it. Republicans tore the funding for that program out of the bill, seemingly at random, because Elon Musk told them to. So I want to be clear about what's happened, what's transpired in the last 24 hours, okay? The richest man in the world, worth $250 billion, took $190 million away from kids with cancer.
What it means to have this Doge right out here and what that's going to mean. And that's where Elon Musk's fingerprints are all over this. Because, for example, what this bill says is, oh, let's get rid of funding for research on pediatric cancer. Let's get rid of funding for research on early detection of cervical cancer and breast cancer. Let's get rid of funding for research on children with Down syndrome and on sickle cell anemia. Let's get rid of those things so that we can make way for tax cuts for billionaires. That is Elon Musk's notion of efficiency.
And then people started to run with that. People in the comment sections everywhere were referring to it. The Republicans don't care about these childhood cancer programs and basically making out like Elon is this evil, evil person. This person says, only an absolute horror of a human being would do this. Republicans slashed $200 million for childhood cancer research, a program created with bipartisan support under Obama from the CR bill. Why? Because Elon Musk told them to. This is so emotionally manipulative. Of course, everybody cares about childhood cancer. Everybody wants to help children with cancer. It's important enough that we should put it on a single bill because it's an injustice, it's a disservice to these programs trying to help children if you just place them amongst a bill of 1,000 other things and, you know, just hope that it'll pass. Who thought it wasn't important enough to give it its own bill? And then you had AOC saying they're cutting healthcare to kids because Elon gets his money from defense contracts, so they'll never touch the military budget. Top reply to her was, 1, put it in its own bill. 2, debate it on its merits. 3, vote on the bill. Exactly. And the second comment, AOC, your spin is laughable. If you really cared about kids and cancer research, maybe you'd stop supporting a government that wastes billions on pet projects and then acts shocked when there's pushback on actual wasteful spending. Using kids' cancer research to take a dig at Elon, shame on you. And then they continue, very interestingly, you do know that Elon donated $50 million to St. Jude Children's Research Hospital as part of the Inspiration 4 mission in 2021. This contribution helped the mission exceed its fundraising goal of $200 million. I don't know if I hoped that since Trump won, they were kind of taming down a little bit and trying to be a bit less biased, but this was just one of those examples of a very coordinated message that had to go out. They're having to have this coordinated message because they are terrified. They're terrified of the overall population finding out about the power shift that just happened here. Because what happened was, firstly, long-term corruption was revealed. Secondly, transparency was brought to a process that so far has had no transparency for the American people. Thirdly, there was a shift of power that went back to the American people. There are a lot of people out there who are terrified of that and terrified of the general population knowing about what just happened. This will never be the same again now. People are now aware of it. They won't be able to get away with this next year or the year after. And the thing of just coming out and attacking Elon Musk constantly also acts as a distraction. Because if you're constantly like shouting about Elon Musk being this evil guy, a lot of people will just hear that and accept it and they won't think to look into it any further, which is exactly what they want. They just don't want there to be any room for for that narrative to come to the surface. So they'll just make as much noise as they can so that people don't end up hearing about this, basically. You know, it's just a cover up. Next thing, more information came out. Somebody called them out and says, you literally can't make this up. Democrats are blaming Elon Musk, Trump and Republicans for killing the funding for kids' cancer research. It was introduced as a standalone bill and passed the Republican-controlled House. It's been held up since March in the Democrat-controlled Senate led by Chuck Schumer. So that kind of made the argument fall flat on its face, which then we just saw people start resorting to all sorts of different arguments that were really just reaching. Here we started seeing people say he should be deported. Oh, you know, this billionaire is involved in politics now.
The wealthiest person in the world, who spent at least $277 million to elect Donald Trump in a Republican Congress.
The richest man in the world.
He's the richest guy in the world.
The president-elect and the richest man in the world decided to torpedo a bipartisan spending package.
The word has gone out. This very rich woman is going to say that the world's richest man.
Ron DeSantis comes out and says the left finds Elon Musk speaking out against a bloated spending bill to be a big problem. Yet when George Soros pours millions of dollars into electing leftist district attorneys who pledge to go easy on criminals, that is somehow democracy in action. Make it make sense. And I loved this meme. Elon, I'm going to help cut government waste. Congress pushes insane spending bill. Elon, that's waste. The left, shock. This person says, I'm outraged that Elon has become the first billionaire to ever influence politics. The Babylon Bee says, Dems explain they don't want billionaires controlling our media unless they're Bezos, Zuckerberg, Gates, Bloomberg, Buffett or Soros. I have to say, I enjoyed this all thoroughly. A second bill was put to Congress, but this time Trump had gotten involved and said he wanted them to continue the suspension of the debt ceiling. So at the moment, the debt ceiling is suspended. There's no limit to how much debt the government can go into, which clearly has not gone very well under Biden. That's due to end in March, which makes it very difficult for Trump because when he comes in, he's going to want to build a border wall. He's going to want to do all these things that he won't be able to afford to do because the government will have run out of money. It's a catch-22, really, because you've got a situation where the borders are open, you've got illegal immigrants coming in, that costs the government an awful lot of money, but the solution for that costs money, and if he can't afford to do it, they're going to keep on coming in and keep on costing the government more and more. And on the flip side, there were Democrats and also some Republicans who weren't comfortable with the debt ceiling continuing to be suspended. This is what some Republicans had to say about it.
To hear the Democrats that were debating on it just not too long before, as I listened into them, they were saying it was audacious for us to ask that we find some way to pay for that instead of just adding to the national debt.
But I have 760,000 people that voted for me to do the right thing for them, and that's what matters to me.
For the last 2 years, I've just had a front row seat to this reckless spending process. The American people gave us a mandate. I think that to ignore that is to be very obtuse in this environment.
There were a lot of Trump supporters coming out upset that any Republicans would oppose Trump. But to be honest with you, I think that to expect Republicans to just blindly accept anything that Trump says then becomes a dictatorship. It's important that you don't expect people to just accept anything that one person wants, you know? For me, what's important is, are they doing this for the right reasons? Are they trying to do the right thing? Are they, doing this from a place of principles or morals? Or are they just doing this to sabotage things? I understand Trump's side. I understand that it makes it a lot harder for him. And I understand as well that it's like a little bit of a shame that they've agreed to have the debt ceiling suspended while Biden is in office. But then once Trump is in, they don't like it. There's two sides to it. These people stood their ground on what they felt was the right thing to do, which ended up with a third bill being presented Before we get into that, I'll just show you a couple more of the narratives that the media are kind of spinning at the moment. So you also had this thing repeated a lot, which was Musk and Vivek should not have jumped in at the 11th hour. And this person said it was the 11th hour because the process was purposely manipulated to introduce the bill at the 11th hour. Elon and Vivek represented the voice of GOP constituents who voted for this exact kind of change. So there you go. That's what gets to the heart of it. Like, the media doesn't want to say that. The media has never made any mention of the fact that this is what the people asked for. This is what people voted for. This is what like tens of thousands of people were on X posting about, opposing. They were going to their local reps opposing. So they don't want to mention that. And that's the part that's important. The thing is, as well, is they're doing exactly what they said they would do. They created Doge to stop government spending. And then once they stopped government spending, the media is going absolutely crazy, like as though this wasn't exactly what everybody asked for. So actually, MAGA is sticking to their promise, and maybe it's just that we're not used to politicians actually sticking to their promises. But yeah, they're doing it. It actually came out in the end that Trump did show opposition to this before Elon Musk. So all of this stuff about Vice President Trump just following Elon's lead is actually untrue, as we probably could have guessed. But this was just a MAGA move. It was not just Elon. And here's someone who summarizes it really well. One of the representatives. The Uni Party is aiming their fire at Elon Musk and blaming him for killing their incestuous porkfest government funding bill. However, it was the American people engaging and posting their outrage on X that killed the bill. Very true. But they hate Elon because he bought X and protected free speech, which allowed the people to fight back and stop another uniparty sandwich. Sorry, I don't want to swear. The truth is they hate you, the people, for standing up to them. They're angry they got caught in such a big way. These losers waited for months knowing the government funding deadline was Friday, December 20th, and refused to show any of us members of Congress the bill text until they dumped 1,500 plus pages on us Tuesday night. Same pathetic play over and over again. The truth is the Uni Party has been creating this disaster for decades. They own it. They can't blame anyone but themselves. Now it must be broken in order to fix it. The messy consequences sit squarely on the Uni Party's shoulders. They don't get to point fingers and blame anyone. So then the third bill was introduced, and thankfully that did pass. And thankfully it was actually a pretty good bill. Okay, Trump didn't get what he wanted with the suspension of the debt ceiling. When that does end in March, they'll be voting on that. And for now, we don't know what's going to happen. It's going to make it a lot more difficult for him now. But besides that, every bit of rubbish was removed from the bill. Every bit. The bioweapon labs, the pandemic stuff, the raises for Congress, everything was removed. There were 3 sections that were left in the bill: federal government funding, the second was healthcare funding, and the third was disaster relief funding. And so it actually ended up doing some good for American people. Besides that, there was some other good news that Representative Tim Burchett is introducing legislation that every amendment will have the name of the sponsor in it, so the American people know who is behind the bills being introduced in Congress. So that's great news. I don't believe it's ever going to be the same again. This whole thing that's been going on for 12 years with all of this corruption and all these bills going through, all this legislation going through very sneakily, that will not happen anymore. And that's already a huge victory for MAGA and for the American people. Elon posted, "Your actions turned a bill that weighed pounds into a bill that weighed ounces. You are the media now." Eric Doherty says, "We have to be clear here. The bill on the left is what would have passed without Elon Musk and our voices on X. The bill on the right is what did pass." Overall, this is a huge win. And the media is doing their spin on it. And I have to say, it does bother me to see how much they lie and misrepresent information to the public. They are doing such a disservice to people by misinforming them, by not informing them properly. It's wrong. It's deeply wrong. But all we can do about it is make sure to talk online, support independent media that we actually feel is transparent with us. Just keep going, keep on fighting. This is before Trump has even come into the presidency. This has happened. So this is a very good start. Vivek and Elon's first Doge mission, and it was a pretty good success for the first one. And think about it, how these could add up over time, the more that they catch these very wasteful spending moments and these kind of corrupt things that are going on. Overall, I think it was a victory, but I know some people feel that it wasn't enough. So please do let me know what you think. As I always say, your opinion really matters. Our opinions matter, and it's important for us to voice them because there is a very, very loud voice that's trying to hide ours. Talk to people and share your opinion, share your thoughts. And yeah, I'll see you next time.